like Arduino boards, transistors, motors, stuff like that. Obviously, it's the Senate's job to say if that's excessive or not, and maybe we should look at making it just additional funding requests, just leaving it aside. But I think it'd help them if we did restore them out, because they do a yearly competition called Micro Mouse, and they wanted to start ordering the parts next semester as soon as possible to start working on it.
I would add that we do have a summary, so let's direct your attention there real quick. If you see, they did say the way we plan to do these changes for campus is by holding workshops, classes. So I think it is natural to assume that maybe it's not all even going to hardware. To Amy's point about like maybe seeing some more itemized. I think Xavier does make a good point that we know what this club does, that they're going to build like stuff with it, and that is really hard to itemize. I think compromise could be found. There's also other events earlier that might be worth. Jeff.
Well, I think actually keeping it anonymized in many cases would be a, to some degree, good thing, because like if they're, you know, if they're doing a project and they need, let's say, a $1 transistor, which happens a lot, trust me, I don't think it's a good idea for them to come back with an additional funding request for a $1 transistor. I think it would make, like it's possible it would make sense to for them to, have broad categories, but I think, we should maybe think about, I think we should seriously consider restoring some of this hardware, although I'm not going to motion for that right now.
Reba, then Genevieve.
I'm moving out of talking about this just because I don't have information, but I want to cut the EC barbecue because it gives you the description.
EC or IEEE? EC
It's part of this budget.
Okay.
Because it does the same.
Oh, ECE. I'm sorry, they said EC. I was like,
Oh, yeah. Just because if you read the description, it sounds like what we've been cutting across the board.
so there was a motion made to cut that barbecue.
Yes.
Second.
I'll add a follow-up for those point of order. ECE, I do believe, stands for Electrical and Computer Engineering, as in the department name. So just keep that in mind too. Oh, yes. Any other discussion? Reba, is that a hand or you just?
Yeah, that's a hand.
Yeah, figured.
Okay, I don't know if this is the same barbecue, but I remember going to this fall semester and they had the barbecue set up, but they were on stage salon, and they also had people come in, not from the ECE department, but from like main IEEE, presenting their projects for all of the campus. Like they were talking to me, and I had nothing to do with electrical engineering or computer science. So while it is an event to recruit people, I don't know if, like for some reason, we should give them like the benefit of the doubt. I don't know. This is hard to do without the rep here, because that was a great event that they had, because I remember learning about some projects that I had no idea what they were before, but also because they added the additional recruitment of members, I feel like just because we have to be fair across the board, we should cut it so that it is.
Second.
All those in favor of moving to the previous question about cutting the ECE barbecue from IEEE's budget, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. All in favor of cutting the ECE barbecue from IEEE's budget, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Hearing none, the ayes have it unanimously. Reba, the IEEE day, right below it,
Yeah.
description says to show off IEEE and what we do, by like having a barbecue basically.
Same
So I
thing.
think that might be what you went to in the valuable event about showcasing IEEE. So that, it says it's in BC 122 or BC 104, they present the project, but I think what you were looking at was that. And I agree with you that this one sounds more like just recruitment and to be consistent. Other point of order, are we being filmed now? Is this camera on? My friend Chris? Yes. So 7 o'clock, in the meeting, you can say hi. I'm gonna go to Jeff and Jenny.
Yeah, to me it seems actually a bit more like a showcase than a recruitment thing. I mean, obviously, you can recruit people, but it seems like they're kind of pitching it as a recruitment event, but it's a showcase. They're showing off, basically here's we're electronics engineers and we're electrical engineers. Here's what we do as electronics engineers and electrical engineers. This is the purpose of their club. I don't think we should cut this actually.
We already cut the ECE one, I still have IEEE day.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. IEEE days, they're showcase.
You don't want this.
I was saying IEEE sounds like a valuable one. Yeah, cool. No motion's made. Hi, Colin.
Just kidding. I thought something else was going on.
Like meeting at 7 instead of 5?
That's a scoop.
Well, no, I actually emailed the Senate last Sunday saying that I was
Oh,
going to
you're
be
right,
late,
you're right.
but
It's so confusing because
Yeah.
there's like 20 people, I'm sorry. I almost forgot myself, that's why I wanted to remind you. All right, any other points about IEEE at all? Yeah.
Globesport shouldn't be a part of this.
No, well, we can go back, we've been going back when everything's going on. If you want to.
Dude, I just came in. I'm trying to figure out what's going on.
Hey, can you bring up Sherry Silence
Yes,
and FC Cups? You know, just
sharing the silence. Right, Tyler will have something after you get to speak first, I guess. So, we'll go to you, Pat.
Yep, FC Cups. I cut $2,000 from their Purple Thursday event because the event is buying supplies, purchasing T-shirts and wristbands to sell and donate to third persons, which I believe is against our. So anyway, everything else, nothing that the FC.
So, that is, I'm sorry. I
So it was cut from.
This whole.
Yep. So just basically event. We cut the entirety of Purple Thursday.
Okay. Is that cool with you, Tyler? That's what your
Yeah,
point
that's
was? Thank you, so that was. Genevieve?
Can you scroll down a little bit?
Sure. Of course. I don't have this. I do. That's right. I use. Genevieve.
Yeah.
Anything else for the triple S?
can you scroll up?
Jeff?
Then I'm gonna let Brenda talk. I was gonna say now this is further discussion. But go ahead.
Okay, so both SSS and IEEE have speakers, and I know, I guess when we were doing the level and stuff, we were really tight, so we were stringent on cutting their speakers and come back. I'm assuming that the reason we're not discussing their speakers and the fact that they're also like sort of big speakers that cost about $1,000 is that now we have money and we are very much planning on giving Hillel their speaker budget back, right? Okay, all right, yeah, that's it, I just wanted to clarify.
You were talking about SSS, not the IEEE speaker.
Both, because they both have, well, one has a $2,000 speaker and one has a $1,500 speaker. We didn't discuss it at all, so I just wanna,
And neither one of them say we want speaker, they bring it just as a
yeah.
speaker. Anyone has any rebuttal or agreement? Feel free to make comments, they don't all have to be necessarily. So, anything else for Stephen shattering the silence, kind of similar to how we were doing it last week? Close it out at all? Jeff?
Well, we can't close it out, so I'm gonna, in the absence of further discussion, motion to, oh my God, I can't think of the word, recess until 7:15, since we have to deal with the, non-RSOs next, and they're not gonna be here until 7:15 at the earliest, correct?
Motion recess is no discussion. No discussion.
But I need a second. Can I have a second?
There's no second. Again, Emily's point was we can maybe talk about them early, a little bit, before they get here if we want to. Xavier?
Can we bring up Rotaract Club?
Okay.
I don't know if this has been cut for like FC, but there's food for GBMs.
Emily?
I think like essentially their entire, I'm not going to go
Yeah.
it, but I believe pretty much their entire budget was cut because it was primarily in GPMs.
Okay.
The only thing I left on there were their supplies operations.
So it was cut.
Yep.
Yep. So thank you for asking. It was cut. Thanks. Right in the guidelines. Very good. Okay. Jeff?
Can we bring up the rage budget? What?
We can, yes.
No, I'm just asking for, just any free discussion, not to cut anything, just what we think, especially because, less,
Kick off the discussion, let's see if there's any FC cuts or FB cuts, financial board. $11,330.
So, yeah, we cut down their prizes. They were buying 4 prizes so we cut $1,000. So underneath, yep, thank you. We cut that down to 0 because they were purchasing 4 at $250 each, so there was not enough money within 175 to fund even one. So, as is.
Henry,
Is there any way we can just like not approve this now and approve it at a later time when they have all their finances like down? Like I honestly know people say, oh, Henry hates rage. Well, you know, I'm not really hate that much. I just rather they have their stuff together, I guess, for it, rather than they just keep coming back like last time. Like we all approved. I remember it was like the first meeting I was a senator, and we approved like so much money for prizes, and we all were just like, yeah, let's do it. Like, so I don't know. That's my point.
so to answer your question, we'll go to Tyler. Could we like motion to remove it from the whole thing, if this is what he wants to do? We divide by budget?
I wish I brought my copy of the Robert's Rules. You can, what I would recommend doing,
Because right now it's included in the questions.
yeah, so
Included in
the
the
two
motion.
options are to split it and then postpone the split part, or to just turn it down, like the Matt Hunt patented additional funding request method.
So, so you're saying we can do one thing, we can split it out as the 2 separate motions of everything except rage plus rage, and then just not bring up the other one, being the rage, or you can cut it to 0 so we stay in our current question.
Yeah, if you split it, I would recommend explicitly postponing it to a specific date.
So we're in a question right now, this is where we are, and this is the rage, right? So, I'm saying we can either split it, have 1 and 2, and then postpone this to a certain date, or we want to stay in one question, and we cut this part to 0, and have them come back. Later date, for an AFR. Awful handwriting, I know. Does that one make sense? That makes sense? Those are the 2 recommendations from our great parliamentarian. Raise your hand if you don't think it makes sense. All right, Genevieve.
What is an activities fee? It's their last.
Rage night activities fee.
Yeah, what is it?
Great question. Representative should be here around 7:15 to answer.
I just didn't know if like
Yeah,
anyone
don't worry.
overall knew. I mean, Greg always knows shit about Kissinger. Oh, I mean stuff about Kissinger.
I don't remember anything like this from last year. So I guess we can go for this quickly. I was on the planning committee this last year. Christina helped out a bunch. Right? Xavier is on that committee as well. Christian, you not Xavier. Colin.
Pat, just a question for you. I apologize. I've been trying to get back up on everything. What did the FC already cut from this budget?
Just the prizes,
All of them?
all of them, yeah, because they were asking for 4 $250 gift cards.
The one that's listed as prizes, so line 13. I know it's confusing. All those things are
Oh,
prizes.
got it.
That's
All right.
prizes.
Yeah, the rest of them are prizes too. All right, got it.
Oh, $10, true.
Jeff.
Yeah, one thing I noticed is that Rage shirts, we would never ever fund, basically shirts for any other organization.
Except
So I'm not sure why we're looking into funding it now, especially with the assorted budget woes.
Henry. On
Those are
next question
expensive as
here.
hell.
On the low and Henry then.
I remember when we had this discussion last semester, it's kind of very pertinent to the event. It's like, unifies the teams together. So it's kind of like an exemption that we made. I don't know, every grade has their own shirt color thing. So that's just the reasoning, rationale. That's why it was done in the past.
I actually agree. I think a lot of people wear the shirts, see them all the time. So I have no problem with the shirts. Just implore people to push it back to a later date, I guess. I mean, I like Matt's idea of just striking it down and just additional funding requests. It's really simple. I think they're obviously gonna come back for more money. I just see it happening. So it would be easier instead of having to approve this and then approve that. We just do it in one thing. So I want a motion. I'm gonna motion to vote on it, I guess.
We will vote on whatever your motion is. I need a motion of what you want to do.
Motion.
What's the motion?
What?
I think, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but are you motioning, you said it, to cut this, like PDF we have open, it's $11,430 to zero.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry about that.
So motion has been made to cut the gear and triangle ready
Second.
additional funding request, seconded by Senator Jeff. Colin, then Christina.
So I think if we want Rage to happen, that's not a good way to do it because this is a pretty large chunk of money. We don't really know what our operating budget is going to look like next semester. And if we're telling everybody, oh, we're just gonna cut it and then come back for an additional funding request, then it becomes a game of who can get the additional funding request in first, because historically, we just approve things as they come in. On top of that, I think if we're gonna look somewhere to cut stuff, Sean did mention in his emails that the water bottles weren't essential. They're really expensive, they're like $13 a bottle and they want 250 of them. So I think either cutting that in half or entirely wouldn't hurt the event that much, but at the same time would save us a lot of money. If we cut all of that, that's $3,200.
Now within scope for me to update you, that number in the black includes late non-RSOs. We cut $45,000 to Tech Spoken, put 22.5 to EC, and also reduce the CIF.
I still think that's
Just
responsible
let you know.
with the water bottles.
Just wanted to update you tonight, but that's cool.
Thank you.
Back to Henry.
I feel like that's a good idea, but I feel like they could just do that when they come back. Like, we could like send out like a notice to them. Oh, could you please just like cut this from your new like additional funding request? Which, I mean, I guess if we could say like it would just look easier for us with like the money situations. We don't know about rollover and everything. We still have all these other budgets to approve. So I'm gonna give the rest of my time to Matt. I don't know why I can't.
Can't do that. So we're gonna, if you make a point as a senator, you can't just like that and see.
Because I know his hands was up.
Emily also had her hand up as well. Jeff has his hand up as a senator.
Okay, I think we should, I definitely think we should split the motion. I definitely think we should divide the motion because the money stays out of our, the money stays, like, it stays in our figures. The money's not going anywhere and we're not like forgetting about it. The money's still there when they, when they come back for it, basically. And at the same time, we can wait until they have, wait until judging basically on whether, because they do come back.
All right, see time to Tyler.
Just one thing I wanted to say very quickly, just to, again, reemphasize the amount of control that you have over the money. You can say if you want, well, yes, I'd like to motion to set aside this money, but not let Rage actually spend it yet until we approve it.
How does that work though? What do we make a motion to do? And then
So
how do
you
they
would-
follow up?
You would move to set the money aside. Basically, you'd make it a standing order that can be changed with the majority vote.
As a senator, I'm going to see your time to ask your opinion about procedurally. You think that is something we should do? Or in what case would we want to do that? Like, if we want to see, like, why would we give them money and then ask them to come back?
I mean, it just depends on the reason that you're putting it off. So like, if the reason that it's being put off is really just they want better clarification on something, then yeah, that would be something you could do. If it's being put off for other reasons, then I wouldn't.
Like, if we actually don't want the event, or we don't want the event as it's proposed, it would probably make more sense to vote against, like do even the zero or vote against. Okay. Thank you, Tyler, very helpful. Emily and Matt have their hands up. Christina, you're a senator, you can go.
You can go.
I guess I was just gonna say that if we're gonna postpone on a lot of things, definitely come back for more money. What they come back from, they might come back, I don't know how Sean wants to work it, but he might come back, he might have each organization that's gonna host an event at Rage come back for additional funding, which might be the better way to handle it actually. So we might, like, it might just be appropriate to grant them this and then whatever additional funding from individual clubs that are hosting an event there comes in separately. If that's the clarification you want to postpone it for, I just feel like postponing it might be a hard process for our end to kind of figure out, but it's up to you guys. Figure it out.
Okay. John has his open something.
I would just
Yeah, my own thing was just that there are reps coming, so.
Yeah, they're on their way.
But
Perhaps on the way.
so keep questions in mind too that you guys are thinking of.
So,
So I had Christina and Jeff, so I'm gonna go Jeff and then Christina.
I'm gonna see my time.
So to,
Christina.
I was just gonna say, I don't think we should make any decision until the reps get here. I feel like that's just it.
Henry.
All right, so I guess we, if we're gonna do the motion, would you want to amend it? So like when we, like they come here, like I'm not motioning for anything, I'm just asking Colin, I guess, would you feel it'd be a good idea, just, we could amend it through the water balls and then approve it? If Matt's saying like it'd be just a better idea to just approve it now.
Or apply Colin then.
So I think it would be valuable to talk to the representative who's coming. He planned the whole thing last year, so he knows how like it went last year, what was successful, what wasn't. He sent on a great survey at the end. I'm pretty sure it went out to all the clubs too, of like what went well, what didn't, what can you fix. So this is like a refined process that he's trying to figure out. And I'm sure he has a plan in mind, and Sean has a plan in mind. And hearing that plan will help us figure out how to help them best. He should be here
Chris
any
is
minute now. Yeah, Chris is
Okay,
coming.
cool. So I will remind everyone, we are in motion to cut the entirety of this range additional funding request to zero. That's the motion we are in. Jeff and then Genevieve.
One of the things that's been brought up repeatedly is just that, I'm gonna see the rest of Lieutenant Tyler for this, because he was, for his opinion, because he brought up that rage, like it's run by Gearing Triangle, which is not a, it's not open, so Tyler, your opinion.
I mean, I can't, like,
You're asking his opinion, can you just give me that question, your opinion on?
I'm asking your opinion on basically what you said previously about Rage not being open, Gearing Triangle not being open. I ceded my time. Take it.
You can choose not to give your opinion, or you can. I think either option's good.
so just the first thing that I'm gonna say is, just as a general statement, there is no such thing as ceding time. So you can't cede your time to another person here. Sorry?
Okay, so we've been doing that wrong, so it's like,
Yeah.
Can I ask a follow-up with it? So the only way I can call on non-senators is after no senators have their hand up.
Yeah, so there are two ways to go about it. So the first is if a person who has the floor is making a direct question, that's considered a request for information, which can be facilitated by direct response, although obviously avoid the back and forth. But if you're just you're just trying to cede time because they want to say something, then yes, what has to be done is the chair has to recognize them in the normal order of choosing people to speak, which would be if there are no senators left, then it's, I believe the order according to the bylaws is the Senate, the cabinet, and then the guests.
Okay. Can we just, maybe now, or you look up, just make sure there's an actual order, and make sure the cabinet is above the floor.
Yes, it's
'Cause
under.
I just don't want to, in my opinion, I've always thought of the cabinet as guests as well, but, I mean, they do have obviously more information, but just in terms of that hierarchy, I just want to clarify
Yeah.
that.
And it's usually up to your discretion anyway.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Always keep us on track. So back to Jeff's question about your triangle, if you would like to answer. That's
Yes,
up to you.
so this is not my opinion as parliamentarian, but more as just like, I guess, the Constitution and Bylaws Committee head. This is really just something I had a concern about, is that, like Jeff said, Gearing Triangle is a closed organization. So whenever you approve money for a closed organization, one thing you always have to think about is just the lost opportunities there for people that are not in the organization or can't join the organization for whatever reason, can no longer, whether it be, usually it's not an issue of participating in the event because the events are required to be open, but even just leadership positions in organizing the event and stuff like that. And the other thing to think about is that this event could maybe just as easily be run by an open organization such as a committee within the SGA or something.
I'm going to go Reva and then Amelie.
I think that's a valid point, but I guess like the reason I look at Rage differently is because as far as leadership went, they had their like day team, night team. I know Christina was part of it. I don't think she's in Grand Triangle yet. And also these, like Rage as a whole made a lot of other RSO funded events a lot better. Going back to Grocery Bingo. Grocery Bingo usually is a pretty good event. It made it an awesome event. So they do go to help RSO funded events. It just kind of gave it extra like fire and made the events a lot cooler and just better. So I don't think the fact that they were non-RSO really affected how beneficial they were to campus because everyone got to participate in leading events. I know I did. I'm not here in Triangle. And yeah.
Oh, you're doing it next.
Yeah, it was a very similar point. I just wanted to piggyback off that. Like, I was on a committee, the Rage Committee, and I wasn't in Gearing Triangle. So like, although Game Triangle's not open, the committee to plan it is open. Also, yeah, like I think just the events were like, in conjunction with a lot of RSOs on campus, so that furthers the, expanse that the event had.
Genevieve and Jeff?
If it's not too much of a hassle, can we see one of their like first budgets from last fall? Like, I said it's not too much of a hassle.
It is not too much of a hassle, we'll get right on it. Academy is here to serve you.
I'm just making your job more interesting.
We sent an additional funding request, Connie, it's through. Yeah.
I'm not sure Matt could have rolled.
To our wonderful representatives here, hello. Shouting in silence, while we're looking it up, we discussed, and I have a check mark here. Purple Thursday was got by FC, that stayed, so if anyone wants to go back, like just kind of like raise your hand, and I could give you time to speak about it, but otherwise, we're good on the rest of the budget.
So just,
It hasn't officially been approved because it's in this subcommittee,
Yeah.
but we moved on from it because no one else had anything else. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's a lot easier.
So there's like a $2,000 line item for Purple Thursday.
Yeah.
That was originally caught like a week ago. You should have gotten a notification about that, maybe not.
I don't think I get the emails directly, our other
Okay.
president got them.
But that was cut before, and we were all good with that, so we just kind of left it.
Okay.
Alright? So are you good with that? Do you want us to go back after we're done with this conversation?
Yeah, just briefly.
Okay, so, noted.
You like to know, I like to hear something.
Are you guys getting that? Yeah. Oh, that's. Can you pull it up? Chris, just to catch you up to speed so you can be more informed about what we're discussing. We're in this motion about all the weight non-RSOs, which you're trying to non-RSO, and we were specifically discussing the range, basically like that whole Adobe, right, for $11,333. The $1,000 for prizes on line 13 was already cut by financial committee because they wanted to cut it 175, but if it's one unit, it's 250. They couldn't go with that, so they cut it to 0. We're not discussing that. That's already passed, or didn't pass, but we're already moved past that. There was a motion made where we were discussing cutting the entire thing to 0, so that's why it's like going back and forth about like how valuable, blah blah blah. But just so you know, we are in the motion right now to cut. And so it's a reminder to cut the entire T of rank experience to 0. All the scribbling code on the board is there's 2 options we can do, right? So cut it to 0, have you come back for additional funding request, like more detail, lower prices, everything like that, or to just divide it off, which is like a procedural thing, just to like treat it as a separate motion and then discuss it. But right now, we're in the motion to cut it to 0 with the hopes that it would come back. Oh, with the possibility that it would come back as additional funding, because you mentioned, or Sean mentioned, like some things might be cheaper and all that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Cool. Emily, what do we got? What are we looking at? Okay, so they're in that folder.
First one was.
Can we all see? Sorry, can everyone see? So this is to your question, Genevieve.
Mhm.
This is the old one, so Emily has the floor.
So that was the big duck, which would not be expense again. This was for the t-shirts last year. So we approved half of that. A little over half. Then this was for events during it with different clubs. Events. I'm just scroll through and stuff.
Yeah, it's fine.
It's like some down here. Right?
I'm going too fast, just like you.
You guys won't even notice all the lights are off.
I think you're just asking us to fall asleep.
Well, this is good. You guys saw lights on you, but up here, Abby's gonna go to bed soon. Alright. Ken's like, what?
Were all these cut to 0 because they already budgeted for?
Not sure.
No,
Because a lot of them have already, or a lot of them are.
yeah, I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure that.
I think that's what it was, yeah.
Yeah.
Jenny, if you have like I'm not trying to discourage you this route, but if you have like a question, I know because Chris ran it and like we were very privy to the budget and all that, like if you want to say, oh, like how much did you get for t-shirts? Like I'm sure you could also look that up from like our internal budget.
I was just looking up, sorry. can I-
Yeah, no, it's fine,
okay.
yeah.
I was just looking, I guess I could have like asked this more directly, but I was also just looking up like about what we did for the t-shirts because I know that we kind of went back and forth about whether it should be a loan request or an actual funding or like how all that went over. So I just wanted to see like overall how it wound up going through.
I believe, I mean, you can correct me because I think you're saying it's different, but it was very weird that we just gave them the money and said, you should charge, or optional. Greg, I remember this big part of this conversation, what we did for the shirts for Grand Triangle is we gave them the money, not as a loan, because we said they didn't need to charge people, because it was, like, almost said, like, it was part of the event that they'd be giving them out.
Yeah.
And so then Michael even came back next week and was like, so do I need to charge $1 for these? And the Senate was just like, no.
Yeah.
Cool?
Yeah, I don't think more.
Nice, because you said
No,
loan.
no, I
Okay.
was looking at one across.
Okay, so you're good with that, Genevieve? That's,
Yeah.
so we gave them money for shirts last year. National champion Dylan Schlosser was wearing his warm-ups today. We got went to the game.
Oh my god.
And this
Gotta throw it in
was
there.
the expenses from last year. No, that's primarily the budget you submitted, right?
Yeah, I think it is within scope and very, very, it has value to look at last year's budget. I'm gonna,
Chris, I know one of the things that was coming up was, we weren't sure if they wanted to approve it now because there were things that, are becoming for a lot of additional funding requests, because that happened last year. Do you foresee, a lot of those, or do you see this as like some finalized?
So the stuff that I submitted the request for was mainly advertising stuff and things to help out with Rage Night. Everything for like the 9-day events, so working with the other organizations wasn't a part of that. So all of that would, I guess, have to be an additional funding request or come from there and something like that.
I'm going to give you the point on that.
So yeah, just I guess for everyone, I think that's so I think approving this stuff is kind of necessary. It's like advertising, if you guys would like to approve it, and then I definitely they don't know what events they're going to do yet, so that's all part of the planning. So we give that to them as it comes, kind of thing. Hopefully sooner rather than later.
I'm gonna hear on we're here we said, the conversation we had with Chris, that there's still gonna be additional funding for some of those Coastal Master events, but Chris was saying this is necessary, advertising stuff. Christina, then Jeff.
Isn't that mainly because they don't know if they wanna go through like Rage or the actual organizations for like the 9-day events? Isn't that?
I believe that's a question for Chris.
Or just like,
That conversation hasn't come up yet with.
Okay, Jeff.
There's one thing I should bring up. We mentioned earlier that Rage, made events like more awesome. I'm just curious, and this is more of an abstract question. Like, how much of that was due to Rage, and how much was it due to additional funding that Rage just got them?
I'm gonna give, I guess, Almonds is what a committee, you can direct fire.
Yeah, well, I was just as a enjoyer of the events. I just think it like hyped it up and like gave it a lot more just like backbone to go off of. It just gave the events more substance. That's just my personal opinion. I just saw more attendance because people are like, oh wow, they wanted to swipe in, they wanted to get points for their team. It just got it like I don't know, got a lot of attendance. They're awesome.
Ms. Julia,
I was just gonna agree with what Angelo said, like, just the whole aspect of Rage made events so much more better than they normally would be because you wanna get those attendance points.
Yeah, provide more incentive for sure.
Christina?
So I was the Rage representative for Grocery Bingo, and there was like, I could not describe how many people went to this event, and it was like insane, and it was like insanely packed because like, one, you got points for attendance, like two, people got free t-shirts if they were like the first few, but like most importantly, people got, the more people went for that class, like you had a better chance of winning. So like whoever won the groceries, they would get points for their team, so like that also gave incentive. That's just an example of how Rage did.
Back to Jeff.
Hey, yeah, I'm not sure that people actually care about the points. Like non-senators and not people who are like just campus in general, especially those who are not, don't usually, go to events. I'm not sure, I don't think people care all that much.
Colin, haven't spoken on this in yet?
I would completely disagree. They kept a tally of points based on how many people went to the events, and pre-Rage Night there were already tons of points racked up. I mean like a lot, based off of mostly attendance at events. So that's like people outside of us going to these events, and enjoying themselves because of Rage.
We go Christina, then Reba. Is it in a direct reply to something?
If you ask me what my opinion is, you ask
I
me a
was
question.
wondering what
Okay, please refrain from doing that in the future. Christina, asking Matt, what is your opinion?
What?
You may already answer.
I just have a clarification, I guess. Just to answer Jeff's question more directly, Rage didn't give funding for like additional funding for a lot of events specifically. What it did do was it put everything under this umbrella. So we gave Rage a lot of money for prizes and for advertising, things like that. So essentially each event got a little bit more prize incentive and a little bit more advertising, which bumped up each event's individual response. So being under the umbrella of which we funded prize incentives and advertising just kind of ramped up the events, which was kind of the whole point of Rage in the first place.
Point of order, I'm going to let you know that I have I guess a draft version of the presentation Mike was working on in which he listed all the attendance, or at least as much what they could find for various week events. So like if you want to know any of those numbers, like you could ask specifically like maybe grocery bingo if you want to know. Reba.
Yeah, when I said incentives, it was super vague, but it was incentives for points, incentives for, if you came, you got tickets that would go into the final, like, ticket box, and those prizes were awesome. Like, I know I wanted tickets because I wanted to win those prizes. Then there was t-shirts, there was water bottles, which I know, like, there's, like, I don't know, I guess negative things to say about the water bottles, but I know that's something that I see a lot of people use all the time, so maybe, I don't know, this is up to Rage Committee, obviously, but instead of water bottles, something else that's like a cool thing that I would love to see my SAF spend towards, because I have this water bottle and this t-shirt and these prizes to remember not only like a fun time, but also the fact that our school does put on like big, fun, enjoyable events.
Jeff.
Just point out, like, there were a lot of prizes last semester, we had a lot of money, we don't anymore, so there's no way we're gonna be able to approve as many prizes or even many prizes, period, for Rage.
We'll give you a, since no one else, and then I'll let Genevieve. Grocery bingo had 103 people, and so Michael was trying to compare like attendance versus additional funding from Rage. The reason he didn't is because, in fairness, he wanted to get original funding approved for the organization. He was also trying to get like a rough estimate of how many people normally go. But our grocery bingo had 103 people and $423 additional from Rage. The largest one I see on here is like 12 Angry Men. Stephen Schmack Society had 170 people, no additional funding from Rage because it's a play. There's 127 people at the ESC Thanksgiving dinner, $950 from Rage, and the Audio Engineering Club's Raspberry Jam had 112 people and $900 from Rage. Cool, Jenny.
Jeff, to your point about how like we do have less money and that we probably won't have as much money for prizes, like if they come back for additional funding requests and everything. That may be so, but I honestly don't think it's going to take away from the Rage event as a whole. Like I did hear like very good things about it, and it was something to do, and it did put everything underneath this umbrella, and you saw these huge posters that had all the events on like a weekly calendar sort of thing, so you know when to go to things. And I think the points did add incentive. I mean, I can speak for like myself and like my friends and everything. I mean, everyone who I knew not logged on, but went to the page just so that their class could get points because they worked it or something like that. Then once you visited the page, you would get points. So I think that overall, like even if the prizes are less, it won't really affect the attendance or the event as a whole.
Jeff.
All right, just to be clear, I was responding to Reba's point about prize holders. So one fun thing we can do with Rage, all the comp sci students had a fun time trying to break the Rage point system.
And yet the seniors still.
Plenty of seniors working on hacking, using his Twitter bots to get Rage points.
I think it was capped. At a certain number of users.
Yeah, they had to do something eventually.
Oh, I meant even before we thought about that and all the planning meetings. I'll add, since I talked about the Division III championship, Christopher and his committee, of which I was a part, won the brand new Innovation Award at the Student Leadership Awards bunch today for this event because it's innovative and got a lot of attendees.
Not that I had it up earlier.
I actually didn't know that, but, so yeah, congrats to Chris, and I don't know, I guess I really like the event, as a whole, so. I guess I'm obviously a little biased and stuff, but, good points. Seeing no senators, Vin.
So, Reeve, out of curiosity, when you cut Tech Fest in Boca, right, you expected $22,500 to go, I mean, when you cut the line for Tech Fest, you expected half of it to go to the entertainment committee, to the whole Tech Fest, and what did you want from the other half?
I would just go, it doesn't matter.
I don't know, I'm leading it into something, that's why.
Vulcan.
Right, no, because as we're getting towards the end, I'm just, you know, you want it towards Bocan, and then the other half you want it to the east. Okay, I'm just curious. I'm just, for my own, like, general.
So that was really
Sorry.
You can't.
No, I'm just here for, like, a clarification,
Okay.
that's all.
But that's just her opinion, because the whole center as a whole is, we don't know.
Right, I understand that. It's
22,500 max of it, that should be it. Operating budget.
I'm
I'm saying, I don't know how that pertains to this.
I'm just curious.
Alright, so let's keep out of scope motions.
You don't have your hands up.
Still out of scope to this motion.
Come on.
So, anything else about cutting the entirety of Rage to 0? No. I'm gonna ask for a motion to move previous. Maybe. All those in favor of moving to the previous question on cutting the Rage event as a whole to 0, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed to moving to previous, say nay. All those in favor of cutting the entirety of the Gear and Triangle Rage additional, or all those in favor of cutting the Gear and Triangle Rage funding request to 0, please say aye. All opposed say nay.
Nay.
The nays have unanimously, motion fails. So we're still in discussion as a whole on the Rage motion. There was some cost reduction suggestions made. You can ask the representative questions now that he's here. Jeff and then Reba.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and motion to cut the rate water quality to 0, as we mentioned a little while earlier, because it's very excessive for what it is.
Is there a second on that motion? Hearing.
Is that a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Colin. So that is, line 8. So that is $3,273.50. Correct, Jeff? Line 8, strike 0. Yes, over 3 grand. Anything else to say? Colin.
So the reason why I recommended this is because I think a lot of senators have a concern over how expensive this budget is, especially considering that there will be more budget coming in the future. Just a question for Chris. How much of an impact do you think the water bottles had on the event as a whole last year? And is there something else that you'd rather see cut, or like what was your thought on all of this?
Can I reply? You may answer.
Yeah, thanks. With the water bottles, it was something that I saw really excited people, really excited students from different facets of campus about like getting this cool Rage water bottle. So I think the main idea behind them was to build up the hype for Rage. We did give them out for free, as you all know. There was like the swag train that walked around, people could come grab it. I know it was like on Twitter and people would sprint to that swag train and just be excited about getting a water bottle. Had a conversation with someone a couple weeks ago who didn't get one, was really upset about it, so I gave him mine. But that's the point of the water bottle. So if you want to cut it, fine. We can try and find something else that can excite people as much. What that is, I don't know, but we need something for it.
Okay. Thank you. Colin asked that question. Jeff, you spoke at the beginning, so we'll come back. Henry, Christina, and Jeff.
Would you rather have the water bottles or the Rage shirts, would you think, if you could choose one?
I'd rather have the shirts.
You'd rather have the shirts? Okay.
Cool, Christina.
Were there team flags last year? I just don't remember.
Yeah, there were. Sorry.
Yes.
I'm totally out of turn.
So, okay, Jeff, let's quick all out. That's for the efficiency of the meeting, it's fine. Jeff.
Well, I have two things. Well, I'm gonna do my thing first. With the water bottles, I really think, well, the representative, for the representative, I really think you guys should look into alternative things that could get, things, for lack of a better word, that could get people, just as excited for the water bottles. And if you really think that the water bottles are, are that important, highly suggest you come back for an additional funding request next semester when we hopefully have a lot more money. Right now we're kind of tight, and the other thing was just that, Christina, you just brought up, oh yeah, the flags. Where, do you have them stored somewhere?
So,
Do
What
you
happened?
have a direct reply, sir?
yes, I know one of them is missing and was found in someone's apartment at some point. And I've heard that through the grapevine. The others, I don't know. We should have the other three. I don't know where they are.
Okay.
I'll give you a follow-up, Jeff.
Yeah, do you think maybe you guys could, we cut this, you guys could look for them? Because I heard just like, the duck was just sitting for, the giant duck was just sitting in Mike Cahill's dorm for a long while. Do you think you guys could look for them and then come back if and when you can't find someone?
Yeah, what is the deadline?
Huh? No, like, there's stuff in apartment, there's stuff all over Australian apartments because you guys didn't have,
Okay, so we use Humphrey storage space for a lot of things, so they should
Okay.
be there. I haven't been there to give you a 100% answer on it, but they should be there.
Yeah, so then, it doesn't make sense to buy them if you guys still have someone.
Okay, so we'll come back to it. You want to make a motion about that? You guys want to hear one? Christina? Then Genevieve?
So I think the water bottles are like really essential, so I would motion to cut the flags.
Okay, we are in the, just keep that right, we are in the motion to cut line item 8-0, made and seconded. Yeah, I actually didn't write down here, but I remember let's do that. Because I clarified the motion, seconded by Colin, yes. So we're in that motion, so you can make that motion, but it wouldn't be relevant, so wait. Withdraw. Jenny?
Okay, for the flags, I know last year and even for the t-shirts and everything was kind of personalized to each grade. So this year, do you guys intend on using the same logos for each grade, meaning that like the kind of moving up with the grade, like whatever the sophomores logo was this year, it'll be the juniors' year logo next year, or what is your intention? Are you creating new logos? Because then I see the need for the flags, but otherwise.
The sophomore, so the logos are staying the same. The senior one is still going to be like the most serious one. So those that were juniors before are now going to get this new red shirt.
Thank you for answering. Guys, I know we've already been here for like almost 3 hours. Try and keep in just in context of each motion. I know that conversation started going all over, and I know that those are all questions we were going to have at some point, so it's good that we got our answers. But just keep in mind, so we are talking about cutting the water bottles, so like for efficiency, we should be talking about just the water bottles, get a vote on it, then we can move on to shirts, we can move on to, flags, and that's when we'll bring up these questions. All right, guys, so just keep in mind, we're on the motion, cut line 8, just water bottles. We go to Colin and Jeff.
So, I know I seconded this motion. Last year, they budgeted for a lot of swag, which made the budget really expensive. This year, they definitely cut down on that, and the water bottles are something they saved. So, they really just have the plush ducks and the water bottles for what I can see. And I guess the rubber ducks, but that's like $100. So that's really nothing. So it seems like this is really important to them, so we might want to give it to them, since this, like, presumably is all they're asking for right now.
Okay, before we go back to you, Jeff, I just want to add to this, Senator. Sean made the recommendation about reducing this, I believe.
Yes, I
I'll bring that up. Moving further on, water bottles, less alternative expenses can be found. I guess it's about $4K. So Sean, as the new spirit sheriff, you're trying what they recommend. I guess it sounds like cut and come back, because that's how you get the $4K out of flush ducts plus water bottles. Just a recommendation from Sean. You can't vote by proxy. Just thought I would bring your attention to it. I'm gonna go Jeff and Rita.
Yeah, I just think it's a really good idea for, cut the water bottles and then, have them come back with a swag additional funding request, because, hopefully we will have, we will have more money. They'll have a better idea of where we are with, with funding and how much we can really afford to give them. Right now, it seems excessive just because we are not doing so well with funds, and we have to assume, worst case scenario, we're not, like, we'll obviously get some rollover. But we have to assume that, we get like, anywhere from $50,000 to $70,000 or more in additional funding requests each semester. We need to have something. And we have to assume worst case scenario, which hopefully won't happen, but we have to be responsible here.
Okay, I have Reba and then Christina. So, Reba?
Okay, so with cutting the Rage water bottles, clearly this is something that they really want. And if we were just cutting all swag for them to come back and have a swag budget, I think we should amend it to add all the other swag items. But before, like, doing that, I wanna ask the Rage rep if that's a viable option, cutting all the swag and you guys coming back with like a separate, maybe swag budget, if you could find something that was cheaper than water bottles, or if you're still adamant about water bottles, explaining why. Does that make sense to cut all swag now?
Yes, sure.
Yes.
I mean, yeah, it makes sense. Honestly, like, with Rage, if we have water bottles in our, whatever swag we have, like, it's what you guys want to see Rage become, Rage is going to happen. So if you want it to be, I don't know, that much better and have these awesome things, that's up to you guys. We can definitely do an additional funding request later. Or you can, what's up that way.
And Christina next?
Didn't we discuss that, like, they come back for additional funding requests, so like, that was the whole point of trying to avoid that, so, but like, right?
Could you clarify your point? You said too many theys. It's fine.
Someone brought up that Rage comes back for a lot of additional funding requests, so that was like a whole other thing, so now we're saying to cut these items and like have them come back, but like, I feel like they're gonna need them anyway, so I don't think we should do that. I think we should just.
Going back to Jen?
Okay, we're talking about cutting them, this kind of circular, we're talking about cutting them because we're not sure about, how much money we're gonna have, and we need to be responsible, and see, if we only have 14 grand, it would be excessive, to have water bottles. Hopefully that's not where we're gonna end up, but we have to assume the worst. So 3 grand would be excessive. B, it's possible they might get cheaper water bottles, in which case, it would, they would, we need to amend this anyway, but we don't know what we can do with that right now. And C, I'm gonna motion to add the, I'm gonna amend the motion to add the rubber ducks and the plush ducks with Rage shirt on them to, I'm gonna amend the motion to add those other line items to the motion and cut them to 0 as well, so that they can come back when we have, hopefully more money.
So that is lines 6 and lines 12. Motion has been made to cut those both to 0 as well.
Yeah, it's about fiscal responsibility, if I didn't make that clear.
There's a second. Second. Motion is not. I'm gonna go to Amy and then Reba.
Can I be moved to the previous question?
Second.
Oh, moved to the previous question.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor, moving to the previous question on cutting line item 8, having to do with water bottles from $200 to $0. The motion is to move the previous. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. All those in favor of cutting line item 8 to $0 in the Ready Ray Experience additional funding request from Gear Triangle. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Hearing 2 ayes. For integrity, we're going to do hands. All those in favor of cutting line item 8, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. All opposed, please raise your hand. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11. So that is 4 to 11. Motion fails. I'm also going to probably take a lot of hand votes unless you guys are a little more loud because we are below quorum. And I want to verify this with Tyler since we started the meeting below quorum, even though we raised up the quorum. And we bypassed at the beginning, we kept just keep continuing below quorum.
Yeah.
Sounds all right. As unfortunate as it is. So we are at 18 senators. Senator Dahl left, Senator Wheatley stepped out for a little while, and Senator Bogarts also departed, but Senator Collins, I guess. Collins.
Aiken.
I think it's Aiken.
Aiken.
Aiken. Yes.
My Aiken back.
Aiken. All right. So that motion failed. We are back in all the late non-RSOs, preferably staying within Gear and Triangle Ready Ray Experience. I'm going to go to Genevieve and Reba.
I have a question for the representative. What are activities fees?
Yes.
It says Rage Night activities fees.
Line 14.
Can I just respond?
Yes. Yes, that's good.
That is to, so like on Rage Night, there are a number of activities, and last year we did a couple that we needed to buy different things for. So there was like a catapult thing, there was a human pyramid where we needed to like find mats. So that activities fee is to like cover the cost of those activities on that night, which we don't know what they are yet.
Reba, then Colin.
With talking about rage in general, especially like water bottles and other prizes and swag, I think it's important to remember guideline 1, which is like what's beneficial for most of campus. And while this might be a lot of money for, let's say, water bottles, I think just based on our experience as students and senators, and what Chris has been saying about everyone that wanted water bottles and other swag, these are big budget items that are beneficial to all of campus. So we shouldn't just think about the fact that, oh, it's a lot of money, we need to cut it, but about the fact that it's a lot of money that is spent really well. So.
Okay. Colin?
We're not in a motion right now, correct?
We technically are in the motion to approve all of them, but we're not in any other.
Oh, all right, so we're approving all of the late and non-RSOs at the same time.
Yes, sorry, that's a great question to ask since I'm kind of involved.
Cool, thank you.
So, if we are gonna go down the water bottle or flag route, although I guess we already failed on the water bottles, I would like to make 2 points about, I guess, procedural things. Emily has a clarification about IEEE, and also it was discussed among the Senate about possibly restoring, and after we took a vote on the barbecue, we did go back to actually making a motion, which is fine if we don't want to, but Emily does have clarification if we want to hear that. And then also, Stephen Showering Silent representative that is here asked us to possibly go back and talk about the Purple Thursday at CCUT. So there's 2 things if we want to go there, and I'll bring it up. I'm gonna go to Reba because she had her hand up first.
Yeah, I think with the flags, that's something they can definitely try and find, especially if all of it is sitting in storage, and if whoever has the fourth flag asks them to kindly return it. So motion to cut line item, I can't see it.
Line 3.
Third.
Second.
Sorry. Okay, cut and dry, I think, we've talked about this a lot. Jeff?
This is pretty clear cut with the previous.
All those in favor of moving the previous question, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. All those in favor of cutting line item 3, team flags, $500 from Gear and Triangles, Reading Ray Experience. Funding budget, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion passes unanimously. Fall 2015 budget, that's what it keeps saying. Rebecca, you want something to Colin and then Jeff?
So, to me, now that we've cut the flags, it seems like we're talking in circles on the Rage budget. Would it be alright if we looked at Ada Kappa New for a little? Or, no?
It would be. I would
'Cause I have no
ask
motion.
to get the IEEE clarification from Emily, because I don't know if it was with the rep or something, but if we have more questions, we can. I think because it was about the hobby robotics and all that. Were you here for IEEE?
I heard the ending of it with the
Okay.
whole discussion over 1,500 hobby robotics. Do we want them to
Just because she's had
itemize
this since
everything?
like way the beginning of our
Sure,
Rage
yeah,
conversation,
of
I
course.
would like to get that, but I can't do that as long as senators have their hands up now. So Jeff?
Let's actually bring, I think, well, we should prioritize sharing silence because they have a representative physically present. But, so, well, if you could bring it up, that would be great, but,
Sharing silence or?
Sharing silence. But just, I'd like to be blunt to the representative, and I apologize for this, but, there's no chance in hell that event's gonna get funded.
That is your own personal opinion, and I would ask you to use some decorum, especially given that we're being filmed. And keep in mind that it's one person's opinion.
It's my.
So we're gonna go, yes, so we're gonna go to that,
Not gonna
and
do
that's
it.
you representing yourself, not the Senate's representation.
Sorry.
Hold on. We're all,
We have
all right, hold on. So we were asked to bring it back up, we're putting it up here. Since you weren't here, we're gonna go over to our financial board to reiterate why the Purple Thursday was cut. That would be you, Pat.
Yeah,
Thank you.
because, sorry.
It's Stephen Shining Silence, $2,000.
Oh, yeah, it's because it's $2,000 for t-shirts and wristbands that they're going to be selling to raise proceeds for their charity, so we'd be funding, the purchasing of products that they'd be selling to raise money. Essentially, thus donating money.
So it's against our budgeting rules, not anything.
Against the policy.
Okay, so we can start our model, so we can't fund that. I think that's what Jeff is expressing with his harsh words. Is there, so we'll give you, if you want to have a direct response, like a reply to that, about like any.
I don't really, I think women's programs did it last year, they gave us the funding, so I just wasn't 100% sure about the like policies for that, but if it's against your,
Well, that's why I call that the Christie loophole, because we fund that and then she does whatever it is.
okay, well, yeah,
Yes.
I mean, if it's against your policy, that's, obviously there's nothing you can do about it, that's fine.
Thank you. And thank you for letting us know. All right, so we're going to shine the silence. We'll move back out of that. Emily, I'm a senator, I'd like to ask you, what do we know about, what new information do we have about IEEE? She actually doesn't know what it is.
Alright, I just like to read the message and.
Can you use the context again, since
So,
forget where we are?
I believe we had cut their hobby electronics because they were $1,500.
Cut by FB, financially.
Yeah, because they were not itemized, we had discussed possibly returning those to the club. So I got some clarification, I'm just gonna read it with the paragraphs and I can't like summarize from that right now. So the main thing that the new board is trying to do is start holding hardware workshops. They think people would really benefit from having a chance to learn about the basics of electronics. So they would get hardware which would be reused every semester, so there'd be no additional charge in the spring. And also they're going to a regional conference in the spring, which we budgeted for in past years. And there's a competition called Micromouse, and he included that within their fall budget, so that's in their, I don't know if that's in a separate event, or their hobby electronics, I believe it's included with the hardware for hobby electronics. And they said they could have done a lot better at this competition this year, and they feel that they can improve by starting to work on it earlier. And the parts in the workshop parts are quite similar, so they'd be able to reuse a majority of the electronics in next semesters. And then for clarification, in the spring of 2015, for the Micromouse competition, we budgeted about $840. So when you take into account that the total request is for $1,500, we won't have that expense coming in the spring as we have in previous years.
Okay.
But he said to let him know if you guys have any more questions, so hopefully he'll answer quickly.
My question about clarity is, you said the conference they go to in the fall.
No, conference they go to in the spring, but the project for it, they're starting to work on in the fall.
Thank you. Colin, I said it?
Yeah, I actually do have a question for the representative, and I brought this up for other capital improvements too, which I basically see this as. Do they have a place where they're going to put it? Because $1,500 of the electronics could very easily disappear, especially with Arduino boards. I know they're great for hobby electronics, which is why it would be awesome for them, but also, you know, if someone just wanted to snag one, they're really small and easy to conceal. So, otherwise, while she's getting that, I would have to say this seems like a great opportunity for people to learn about electronics. It's exactly in line with what IEEE does, and I think it would be cool for people on campus to learn how to use this stuff, if they have a place to put it.
Any questions, Rich, about if we want to restore money, how much do we feel comfortable doing? Jeff?
I've been motion to restore the line item entirely to $1,500.
Second.
All right, hearing a second, we're now in the motion to restore the line item to $1,500 entirely. Seeing, you're here for the CED time thing, right?
I was just going to ask Emily, what did the representative
Yes.
say?
They have access to the, I don't know how to say it, the Bausch Lab Infrastructure, where they work and store robots, so it'll be in.
Sounds good.
Okay, any other questions, discussion points? I would remind you that in the description about the $1,500, they talk about holding a number of workshops and classes where we teach people electronics. So I don't know what else really the money's going to, or like personnel, like some itemization, but if they feel comfortable about $1,500, that's up to the Senate. Senior senators, Emily?
Well, yeah, that's what I was trying, they didn't give specific things to use for the workshop, but part of it is going towards that Micromouse competition, so the supplies they used in previous years for $840. I want to reference that budget if it helps.
What budget?
Their spring 2015 budget has a more itemized version of the supplies for the Micromouse competition. If people wanted to look at that, I have it open.
Is there anyone that wants to look at that? Maybe raise their hand. Oh, Genevieve, okay. Yes. Awesome. We're also the only one that's like looking So, can we pull that up?
Yeah.
Yeah. And just see. Do we need a hair tie? I have one of these over here too. Man bun? Yeah.
Oh my god. It's a really good look for you. You don't know whose hair that's been in.
Hand looks like her. Well, I have to ask, no, it's not so. Okay.
No.
Glasses
I
are
know the
fake.
glasses are fake. All right.
I just emailed it to them.
Oh, cool. That's good. So pull it up. And we're all gonna get to see it. Okay, so Hobby Robotics, or this micro competition, asks for $845, and that is part of what they said they would use this money for, but that's at least some organization. Colin?
Okay, so we already heard they spent about $845 on the Micro Mouse competition. That would presumably be included with this $1,500. So if you do that math, they get just under $700 for their other hobby robotics that they would teach people how to do. If you look at this, it's only going towards the Micro Mouse. It's actually not that many microcontrollers. If you're going to try and host a seminar, this seems very reasonable to me, and I'd like to move the previous on the motion.
All right, all those in favor of moving the previous on restoring $1,500 to IEEE, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed to moving the previous, say nay. All those in favor of restoring the hobby electronics $1,500 line item to IEEE's fall 2015 budget, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Ayes have it unanimously. So that has been restored. Okay, so we will now can go back to the gear and triangle rage, because that's where we already been fully closed that out. Quick request, our other guest here, which club or clubs are you representing?
Rotaract.
Rotaract. Okay, so we got gear and triangle, and we got Rotaract here. Chris, are you here to also speak about gear and triangle on the larger, like the larger budget?
No,
No.
I can't be.
Possible. All right, maybe. Cool. So we have Ready Break Experience, Rotaract, and possibly gear and triangle larger. Reba.
Question for Emily, did you get any clarification about the EC barbecue or? Okay, try. I don't think it's necessary. I was just wondering if he said anything forwardly.
Reba.
Can we open up Rotaract's budget?
Okay, so just last call on Ready Break Experience. We can go back, but no one else had ring right? Okay. Rotaract. Let's get those FC cuts for favor, and then I know ADCAP and you wanted to go there, sorry.
No, I was gonna bring up Rotaract, I forgot that it was there for a moment.
So pizza, we go over to general line meetings and supplies. Oh wait, we did bring this up.
Yeah, we talked about it.
So, you came back, awesome. So, financial committee cut the food at the general body meeting, specifically listed in the guidelines, we don't fund food at the general body meeting. So that $550 right now is at zero until, unless we approve the line item as a whole, that would be us approving it. It can get restored, like we just did with IEEE, if the senators choose. And then, but the supplies are all still there. Any other senator points on this? If you raise your hand, I can see your time. There we go. So I'll see some time representative to respond if you.
I just had a clarification, you said that it's against like your bylaws to.
Guidelines.
To fund.
Food at a general body meeting. Right, I believe that is the wording. We could pull up the, yeah.
Alright, and so is that like the same scenario as in with, I just kind of missed some stuff, but you said there might be a chance of that being restored?
Oh,
or-
I'm sorry. So the way, I'm alluding to the way it would get restored. The Senate did not cut that specifically. The financial board, which consists of the treasurer, the CCSI, and the subcommittee head, cut that as per those guidelines. They're supposed to be like more objective. But anything that's cut there, like that $1,500 we just restored, can be restored by the Senate. So I'm saying like that money is not, it's not finalized until we close and vote on the entire return. But in very nice words, it probably won't get funded because it goes into the guidelines and we don't fund it for any other.
Alright, and if it's not gonna get funded
Yeah,
for any
if
other.
you have like a specific event where you want food at, that's something present, that is something we usually do.
In the present, like, in my mind, there's nothing I can bring forward.
It's fine. Matt has a great recommendation for if you think of other things later, it's called additional funding. Cool, awesome. So everybody's here with sign, voter act, are all good on that? I think the honor board representative is in the house, so we can go to honor board if we'd like.
Alright, sweet.
Okay, so SHB, Stevens Honor Board, is that where we're gonna go to? Pat or Emily, could we get what was maybe cut or not cut, that $135? Seeing no senators, Emily?
This is something that I didn't get a chance to address with you guys yet, but we cut prizes to 175 for Club Fair, but that actually needs to be cut to 0 as a result of the accepted students tag.
Okay, so can you clarify that for the Senate, please? I know what you're talking about.
Honor Board left the activity fair halfway through. And since we had repercussions in place for anyone who ordered a table and didn't attend, that was the decided upon. Also giveaways were given out at the accepted students day table fair, which was against the rules for the event as well.
Wait, the honor board distributed giveaways?
Yeah,
I wasn't there, though,
Yeah,
just
yeah,
getting
giveaways
clarification.
were given
And I
out.
also didn't know people left early.
they left at 12:30. I didn't have a chance to email you.
So,
Good thing I'm not the one responsible for that.
does everyone understand what we're talking about?
Yeah.
So that is under, not Accord, sorry, under, where is it?
Club fair, presumably.
It's the first one? No.
No, it's done a cheat.
I don't see it. How do I always miss the club fair line items?
You know, I'm not actually certain that we submitted anything for the club fair.
But yeah, we talked about it.
There were giveaways for honor board accord, which is the last one.
I know, because we talked about this, so that's why I'm also very confused now. Well,
What's it, Honor Board?
either way, nothing from the club fair, so we are.
I had written it down as Club Fair on mine.
Okay, but we're all good? Okay, so anything for honor board? Jeff? You got some questions?
Should FC cut the price to guideline?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
So Pat, can you please tell us all the cuts, so?
Right, yeah, so the only cuts that were made were 175 to their prizes,
So which one, honor board accord?
which was the honor board accord, yep. But everything else is not, yeah. Everything else is fine.
Now, looking at that, if they're $50 and $5 activation fee, talked about this before with the rate budget, that per unit, that would need to be then cut to 165.
That is correct.
But you've cut it to 175, so
175,
the
sorry,
Senate would
guys.
have to do that.
Sorry,
If
guys.
you guys want to do that. Jeff?
Well, they can just figure it out themselves, no big deal.
Give them $10 per month.
Well, no, it's not giving $10 more, it's just that like, they get under 75, just buy, like, say, buy, just buy gift cards, so the activation fees.
I would just ask that we treat other clubs the same way, since with honor, with Rage, we're like, oh, well, you can't buy anything for 175, so we're just cutting you to 0.
Oh, okay. Well, these are 50 though.
It's more of a note for, yeah. So, Genevieve?
Motion to cut it to 165?
Second. Is there any discussion on this motion? Seeing none, moving to previous. All those in favor of reducing 175 to 165 for honor board accord, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Passes. Thank you for being fair. Okay, anything else for honor board? Jeff?
Wait, never mind, sorry.
Genevieve?
Did you scroll up to the top again?
Sure. So do not cheat, one of my favorite things. Little stickers.
A little further down.
Is that the first sticker or the second sticker?
What's the difference?
The newest ones just have the pledge, the old one says, I ate a donut and I do not cheat. Yeah, those are the good stickers.
First.
I want those back.
What is the, okay. Genevieve?
Was the fall open meeting cut or no?
According to Pat, no. Just to reiterate, fall opening meeting, $75 was not cut. Pat?
Sorry.
There's a question. So she was just asking,
Okay.
you said before that there were no other cuts, but she just wanted to reiterate, so fall opening meeting, $75 for snacks was not cut then?
It was not. But in theory, fall opening meeting, correct. I guess we looked at it as an event, because it's listed as an on-campus event, so.
It's not technically a meeting, so just for clarification.
Yeah, but, so, no parliamentary, I need to call on you. I think some senators could also clarify. Pat, you
So
said-
my answer is no.
Okay.
Did not cut it.
I'd like to ask the representative, could you please clarify?
Yeah, so open meeting is kind of a misnomer. It's not actually a meeting because by writ of our bylaws, we can't have meetings with anyone who's not a member of the board or one of our advisors present. So it's really just an open forum for people to come and discuss the honor system with us, and we call it an open meeting in the hopes that people will attend more than an honor board event, because that sounds probably even more boring to most students. But last year we did have, like, we just bought snacks out of our own, like a couple of board members' pockets, and we'd like to have some funding for it this coming semester.
Point of, I guess it's in order. As much as I have made these emails as well, please do not be emailing each other or the Senate during meetings when we should be paying attention. Seriously. Okay, serious points. Jeff, then Genevieve.
Yeah, I see this is fine. I went to the event last semester, especially since why that question, I basically had no idea. It was, it was dry, honestly, but it was a good event, And, you should have snacks, you should have some incentive for people to care.
It's the honor system.
Yeah.
Genevieve.
Other than it's
Cut. Okay, Genevieve.
My only concern is that, at least well then let me ask you, is it supposed to be a recruitment event to get people to join honor board or no? No, it's just like more of an information sort of thing about honor board?
You may answer that.
The president wants to speak.
Its function is more to inform all students about something they're inherently involved in, rather, because you have to be elected to,
Yeah, okay.
so it's not necessarily.
Technically, you're all members of the honor system.
Oh.
We should get snacks for all of you to incentivize people coming to the SGA. That's how you for president. You suspend all the presidential fund. Colin.
So, I think this is a good idea. I think a lot of people don't understand how the honor board works. It's only $75, and we've been spending a lot of time talking about it. Otherwise, can I bring up Eta Kappa Nu now?
Yeah, anything else for honor board? All right, we'll go to EK, or EHK, as in Eta Kappa Nu. HKN, H is in native.
Do I still have the floor?
Yes, Colin.
All right. So I don't know if you guys have discussed this yet or not, but their ECE barbecue meet and greet looks actually exactly the same as the IEEE one. Falls right under the definition of like the meet and greet barbecues that we've been cutting across the board. So I'm going to motion to cut it.
Second.
Okay, we are now in the discussion to cut the ECE barbecue meat and greet from Eta Kappa Nu's budget. Not IEEE, is that already passed? Henry! All those in favor of moving to the previous question, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. All those in favor of cutting the ECE barbecue from Eta Kappa Nu's fall 2015 budget, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Ayes have it. Okay. Anything else in Eta Kappa Nu? Notice they have a lecture series and a, what do they call that? Scheduling for ECE students. Genevieve?
Can you just go down a little bit? Sorry, my computer died. So.
Yeah, so Nat will be on top of this and showing all our budgets. Planning committee, are there any cuts in Eta Kappa Nu's budget?
Oh,
yeah, that'd be great. Because I won't have to annoy Matt. Thank you.
I don't think you annoy him.
Okay, so this is what I'll be putting in scheduling. That makes sense. Are there any discussion, motions? I keep thinking your feet are hands. Well, every time I come back, I think there's gonna be a hand. It's always like, it's fine, I'm not gonna say no. Alright, so, everyone gets is good at this scheduling event, specifically for EC students. Jeff?
Anthony, your cap, I see this event, I just started his budget.
I think he's looking to it.
Okay,
I hope
see
you-
blanks there.
Pat, financial committee cuts, please.
For a captain.
Aid captain.
Okay, nothing.
Nothing, what about, Alpha Epsilon?
We're gonna stay in one budget,
Yeah,
we're gonna go through
yeah,
each of them, FC cuts before we close it out. Henry, then you're coming.
Yeah, I think we should just let it be, they're really not asking for that much money, it's only $270. Can we move to the APO budget now?
If there are no more aid captain, I got Jenny's hand up, and then we'll.
Okay.
I just don't really see the relevance of it. I mean, I don't know. It's not really that hard to pick classes. Most people I know do it at 7 a.m. So, I don't know. I just don't really see the relevance of it.
Colin and Reba.
Based off of the summary, since all students will be invited and it will be advertised, my guess is it would also be for people who like aren't necessarily ECE majors that might be interested in like taking a class or two to learn about a specific topic. And I know like me, there's some things that I want to learn about. And I'm not sure which class is the best to do that. So this looks like a great event for people to learn about that. Yeah.
Okay. Reba. Henry. Oh, yeah.
I think it's just $270, guys, come on, I think we can let it go.
There's no motion, so you don't need to.
So can we go to APO now?
Jeff?
Never mind.
Okay. Jeff, you had a request first, so I'm gonna go yours. Where do you wanna go?
Wait, just, like,
Alpha, Epsilon, Delta. Are there any cuts on Alpha, Epsilon, Delta? No? None? None. Are there any discussion about Alpha, Epsilon, Delta? We have a Metropolitan Museum trip, 30 people going, guest speaker, CCD and faculty, infectious disease talk. Colin?
It's not about this. I was going to talk about something else. I already looked over this. It looked good to me. So,
This is a non-honor because they're an honor society.
Yeah, the first one's an off-campus event.
But not all of those are non-honor societies. Right? So, do we, in your, I guess, parliamentary opinion, do we even need to motion, or is it just like we can't?
Yeah, you just like, you can just consider it a cut.
Okay. Because it's a rule or a guideline?
It's a bylaw.
Bylaw.
Yeah, I believe in that summer.
That's what the whole ineligible numbers, okay, alright. So Metropolitan Museum of Art is cut. And it cannot be restored. Because there's none are. So, I hope that Kevin, we're taking notes on this. Yeah, I know, yeah, you're on top of your stuff. To let them know, because we like to let people know when we got money live. Jeff?
Okay, well, Chris, I just wanted to point out that like they can't just cut something off. You know, after it's out, obviously they can't just cut something. What is the far as I know, but
I'm sorry, we got it.
APO FC cuts. Can we have a second?
Okay, so do you have nothing else about Epsilon Delta? Does anybody else have anything about Epsilon Delta? No. Henry, you want to move to APO? We can go to APO. Pat, are there any cuts?
None.
None. Do you have anything you want to add? Jeff?
I think it's just brought up every freaking time, but almost finals practice during finals, are they allowed to?
Luke says they're almost, but Matt, what do you have
There are enough people in APO that experience with the Senate to know better than that, so no, they won't be able to see during finals.
Okay, thank you. Well, it just says during finals.
They won't be, they know better.
Yeah, I was told.
Reba?
Okay, I realized that, but it says on the exam rules.
It does. Matt, clarification, please.
I will personally make sure they do not have it during finals.
I also think like Student Life has a little oversight here too of like last day for events is such and such. I think it's within our realm to cut it if it's going to be, but like with something like this that we know happens every semester, I think we can know that it doesn't happen then. All right, Genevieve.
Just a general question. We have no rules or anything about midterms, right? Since that technically like kind of I was.
No.
It's finals because it's the end of the semester.
Yeah, no, I know.
Matt.
Also, I don't have like a definitive midterm.
Yeah,
period.
okay. Just wanted to make sure.
Anything else for APO? Okay. Jeff, is that for you?
No, I was gonna ask to bring up ethics bowl, G&T ethics bowl and FC cuts, which I imagine there are.
Good, then. Seeing those senators in the meantime, which is kind of messed up. Matt?
Chris had to step out, but you do have me. Shane's gonna be the next president of G&T for clarification, and Mark's currently the vice president of G&T, so you have us three for clarifications.
Emily?
We cut the audience prizes from 175, otherwise the budget was the exact same as last year.
So only line item 6, cut to 175, line item 5 is unpledged.
Yeah, on the basis of discussion that was had last year.
Cool. Prima voca on each motion, yeah? Prima voca on each, like, on each first voice of that.
I don't have prima voca, I don't think.
Probably did that, but. Jeff?
Wait, Tyler, do you have some?
I was just gonna say, regionals is, I know it says on-campus event, but it's not, that's not actually an on-campus event.
What?
So, Tyler's point here is that the travel to regionals, so I'll go real quick the way the event works. The winner, usually their trip to regionals is paid for. Might be fun sending our own team there. And Tyler's saying that because that's on campus, and this is a non-RSO, here in Triangles is an eligible non-RSO, that we would not be able to fund that. Just real quick, can I get like a head nod from like Emily, Pat, Matt, that we agree with that interpretation?
Yeah.
Travels to regional, that's an off-campus event?
Yeah.
We also cut it last time.
Okay, head nods from the Senate, since you guys are also part of this, cool. Okay, so we'll say cut, floors cut, can't do. We'll look into that. Well, it was cut last time, yes.
Yeah, we did it through an amendment last time.
I think,
It wasn't cut. On the budget I have for 2014, it's not cut.
I was gonna say, 'cause they offered us to go.
Because like it's not for G&T members, it's for students on campus. It's just facilitated by G&T. I don't know if there's.
I think that what we can do here is we can discuss if we're going to pass it, because if it passes and we do look at it later and it does clearly fall into that category, it doesn't matter whether we cut it or not. So what I'm saying is you don't even have to veto it because it won't exist. We have the discussion, if we feel comfortable funding this, let's go with it, and the cabinet, we have a lot on our plate, or they have a lot on their plate, we'll be following up about this one as well. So let's discuss it if we want to keep it in there. So right now, we're keeping trap line number 4 as in. And if it turns out later to not be in, it doesn't matter if we voted it down or not, because it can't get passed. So Jeff and
Wait, why are we treating it as in if it's against FC guidelines?
because we're saying it's kind of ambiguous, because it's not funding for Gear Triangle members, it's funding for anyone, it's not open to anyone, if you win the event.
Well, yeah, but it's, Gear and Triangle's a non-RSO, we don't fund, like, off-campus stuff for non-RSOs.
I don't think it says stuff in the bylaws, I think it says on-campus events, so if you can check the bylaws, that would also help an argument here. But not,
I know the bylaws.
the ambiguity is that funding a regional trip, or funding a winner of an event to go to regionals does not qualify as an off-campus event for a non-RSO. Tyler?
So, I mean, I'm gonna look up the bylaw just in case,
That's awesome.
but I'm pretty sure it's irrelevant of actually who is attending the on-campus event.
Well,
Because
look at
we
this.
have, like, a non-RSO's gonna have an off-campus event, it's gotta be open to everyone anyway.
But what I'm saying is funding travel for a winner of an event and a non-RSO having an off-campus event.
I mean, to me, that's what it sounds like.
I'm just wondering how we allowed this last year. Did we consider it as part of the prize? Or
We didn't have the thing done.
We didn't have the ineligible.
Oh,
Is there a provision about interpretation ambiguities? Like, should we just have the Senate kind of vote on it?
So if there's an interpretation ambiguity, yes, it would be a majority motion from the Senate.
Okay, so let's treat this, I mean, can we at least agree that it's slightly ambiguous about, it's not like Gear and Triangle's going on an event and, okay, it's open. It's like, if you win this event that's on campus, we fund your travel.
Yeah.
So we will
It's almost
vote
like
on
a
it.
prize.
I know Mr. Sheen.
I'm actually just curious exactly what Emily was pointing out. Like, to me, that's a prize more than anything else.
Part of the discussion, so Senate, this is your discussion to have, again, we're treating it as in right now. If you think that the bylaw, that you can use it as a justification to vote it down, let's talk. Matt has his hand up, but Jeff and Reba do as well as senators. Jeff?
I was gonna bring up, I strongly feel we shouldn't, we shouldn't fund the prizes more than the guidelines for a non-RSO, and we wouldn't do this for an RSO. We really shouldn't do it for a non-RSO. Even though we did it in the past, doesn't mean we should do it now.
Reba?
I was thinking if we look at like going to regionals as a prize, would we be able to cut prizes as a line item and then like look at travel expenses as a prize?
And I think that's up to the Senate. I think that's like, so if you guys want to have that as a prize and $700 as a prize, the one that was cut is just the audience raffle. So that's, you're asking a question, it's a great question, but it's up to every senator here, I think, to decide. Any other senators, or those are going to go to Matt?
For clarification on that, that would kind of ruin the event because nobody's going to go to an ethics bowl when the only incentive they have to go to the ethics bowl is to go to another ethics bowl. Like, just from experience, last year they struggled getting a lot of attendance there, and the only attendance they did get was because of the giveaways and the prizes they gave away there, not like, and the winning team, me, Shane, and Tyler didn't even want to go to regionals. So,
Valid point, perhaps, even if it does qualify as a prize, people may not want it. Colin and Jeff?
So it makes sense to me that if they win the Ethics Bowl, they should move on to the next level of competition and have funding for that from the school. Also, I think back to this prize note, while this is more than we would normally give, we have made exceptions for the past and we have made them for RSOs. I think this is reasonable given that, you know, each team member would get a prize. And like Matt said, that is the main incentive to do it.
Cool, Jeff?
Well, it just seems like there need to be prizes for people to go. It just sounds like the event is not that compelling. Again, like if an RSO came that, wasn't, Kira Triangle or Easy or something, and they said, we need $400 for prizes for this event or else no one will come, that would be seen as extremely dubious. I think we're being a little easy on because it's Kira Triangle.
Okay, so, point of order. Since we treated this before with the local suspending bylaw thing, they're both the same discussion, really, I think, but we're going to treat this as two votes. So the ambiguity of the bylaw, so we will first vote on the question of whether or not this line item 4 qualifies as a non-RSO having an on-campus event. So that's going to be the first vote, worded that way. If you agree that it is, you would vote in favor. If you don't think that it does count, you would vote against. If the vote against wins, then we will discuss whether or not funding it. Because I think the part about prizes is relevant in the second discussion, but not necessarily in the first. So we understand? So we kind of want to take that vote right away. We can do that and then get into the other one. And if that vote passes, then we wouldn't even have to have the other discussion. Does that make sense? Everyone understand where we are? Okay, so we are now in discussion on whether or not line item 4 qualifies as an ineligible non-RSO having an off-campus event, which is pretty much the same discussion. Jack?
Yeah, just to be clear, we are not voting on whether we want this to happen. We're voting on whether it's a bylaw, whether it's legitimate under the bylaws. And if it's not, we can still fund it. It's just a bylaw thing. I do strongly feel that this does constitute an event under the bylaws, especially because, it needs to be under increased scrutiny because it's only going to be a few people.
Okay, so to your point, you said if it's not, we can still fund it, and that's the reverse case is true. So if we vote this down and we say this is not.
If we say this is not if we say this is a bylaw violation,
yeah,
then we can suspend the bylaw, or
we could. You're right, we could, but you could also interpret it as not falling under that. You're right.
Yeah, but I think we're not interpreting whether we want this event.
Correct.
We're interpreting whether it falls under the bylaw. I feel it seems fairly clear cut to me.
Okay, but if we determine it's ambiguous, I think
it's we determine it's ambiguous, but I think event should be construed to mean it's just anything off campus with it says event, but I think the intention was that anything off campus done by an RSO should be, we should not fund.
Okay, Genevieve.
Okay, before we run down this road, how, even though we're halfway there, you said that Matt said that there are other representatives that were here, or like someone who can speak to it. Okay. Matt, you had said earlier that your team didn't even want to go. How often does the team not want to go? Is this even something that we should be discussing? Should we just cut it as a whole and then what, if people don't want to go, then people don't want to go?
I'll give you Matt, whatever applies, and she has Matt.
Last year, I think was the first year they did that, so I don't want to make a generalization based off of what our team wanted to do. There very well could be an ethics bowl team that gets up there and really is passionate about ethics and wants to go to the next ethics bowl. It could be a valuable prize. So that's up for you. That's up to you to interpret.
Shane, you have further clarification?
So that was the first time in all the years that I've been involved in the Ethics Bowl. So this was the third year. And this time I wasn't involved in organizing it. And that was kind of just a fluke of the schedules of the students involved in the team that conflicted with the schedule for regionals. And yeah, I don't think that that's a commonplace occurrence. Previously, the teams were extremely excited to attend the regionals conference.
Okay. Should I answer your question? Good. Christina, the name.
Can we just motion?
We're in this motion.
Yeah,
This is the motion we are in.
so motion previous.
Second.
All those in favor, moving to the previous question, as written on the board, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Aye. All those in favor of treating line item 4 as an ineligible non-RSO having an off-campus event, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. 3 and 3, I'm still going to do hands. So all those in favor of treating line item 4 as an off-campus event, please raise your hand. We got 2, I got 4, 6, 8, 10. All opposed, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. All abstentions? Really, you abstain? You're abstaining, right? 10 towards 3. That seems right. Okay, so 10 in favor, motion passes. So line 4 counts, meaning that we can't fund it unless we motion to suspend the bylaw. Genevieve. Ooh.
Just line 3 then, since it's regional entry fee is technically an off-campus event as well.
Yes. Line 3 and 4. So we're in a motion to cut line 4. That we're not in that motion anymore because we've now determined that it is invalid. So line 3 and 4, cut, not RSO. Thank you for catching it, Jesse. Any senators? Nah.
I know it's late, guys, and I know there's not a lot of you here, and it's not entirely your fault, but it is kind of on you guys as a smaller group to pick up the slack. You're still making decisions that make a big impact on all of these organizations, and I don't want you guys to get out of that mindset just because there's like half of you here. You actually have more of a responsibility now to be diligent and good senators, so keep that in mind. Sorry about that, but.
Yeah, right. Kate.
I'm just gonna say I'm really not that comfortable funding this whole thing with all the prizes and everything for a non-RSO that's having trouble getting people to go to an event. I mean, like, I'd be comfortable giving them the $175 for the prizes, like, just as a regular event, and then having the snacks and the drinks there. But I don't think that we should be giving them the $14.50 for total prizes.
Representative does have their hand up, but I didn't hear a question, so Amy.
I just think that, like he said, it was kind of necessary for the event to happen, and the event is a good event, so if we want it to actually, like, succeed anyway, we have to give them the prizes.
Just to clarify, you said he said, is that Matt?
Yeah.
Okay, just because your point was that
Sorry.
someone said it was necessary.
It was said.
Matt, was that it?
I'll take it.
Someone said it, and so she's treating it as we have to. Jeff?
Yeah, I'm gonna motion to cut line item 5 from $700 to $175, just in the vein that it, if there needs to be prizes for this event, it's not necessarily that great an event, and well, it's not that compelling. I wouldn't say it's not great. I'd say it's not compelling necessarily, and also we shouldn't be breaking balance for this, in my opinion.
So line 5 is cut?
Thank you.
Okay. Please do not ask questions on your motions. We're all good senators. We should all be ready to do that. And if you need to, I can ask. It's almost like battering people into seconding it, so please refrain from doing that, everyone. Okay, so we're in that motion now, cutting 5 to 175. I think it's relevant to the scope of the motion. That 6 is already cut to 175. That's prizes for the audience, and there's another set of prizes for the winning team. You guys have some comments, it'd be really cool to share it with the Senate, since we can all talk about this, a nice close-knit group of 17 we are. Jeff?
Wait, Pat, was line item 6 cut to 0 or 175?
175. We went over this at the beginning of the budget.
Yeah.
It's gonna make, just keep.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. If you need clarification, feel free to ask, which is also, we try and do everything so we can all have all the relevant information available. Jeff?
I'm gonna motion to amend the motion to cut line item 6 from 175 to 0.
Keith, so that's 6. I think he wants the audience raffle going to 0.
Yes, that's correct.
That was what he said. Is there a second? Second. Seconded by Henry. So, it's weird, but now we're in cutting 5 from 700 to 175 and 6 from 175 to 0. Just discussing the amendment of adding the cutting line 6 from 175 to 0. Seeing no senators, I will see my time by asking the representative, what would you like to say about this?
So something I think that I would, like to ask the Senate to consider when voting on this budget as a whole is that the ethics bowl isn't just, a Stevens event. This is part of a larger intercollegiate competition. And if we don't have decent participation, if we don't have a decent event on our campus, it represents us as a school badly in the region. And then when people look at our campus, and if, for instance, the Ethics Bowl were to die out entirely, which I think if you cut all of the prizes to the audience, okay, the audience doesn't necessarily matter to the event greatly, but if you cut the team prizes from 700 to 175, if you cut the regional entry fee and the travel, then you're really not going to have good participation because in general, students aren't going to go out of their way to prepare for an event. Yes, of course, there's not going to be as good attendance to compared to a barbecue where you can show up and get free food. You have to put work into being in the Ethics Bowl. You have to put some actual effort into it, and it's an intellectual endeavor. But it's something that reflects well on us as a school, that reflects on us as an institution that supports ethics and integrity. And I think that if you do that to the budget, you're killing an event that's existed for a long time that reflects on us outside of just our scope, as students, where if you have a lot of money, we have like, I don't know how many barbecues you funded, obviously I haven't been here for most of the budget discussion. Those things don't really change the way other schools or other students see us. This does.
Thank you, Mr. Arlington. Mr. Vice Chairman. Amy.
Second.
All those in favor of moving the previous question of adding line 6, motion is to cut line 5 to 175. Motion we're currently moving to previous on is cutting line 6 from 175 to 0. All those in favor of moving to previous, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. All those in favor of adding to the original motion, cutting line 6 from 175 to 0, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Nay. Hearing 2 ayes, the nays have it. I would like to add a point of order. Just why I say that, not just for like our own benefit, is if you disagree with my count, you can, call for an objection or call for a recount?
Yeah, so if you disagree with the vote count, there are 2 methods of handling it. One person can call for division, which would require a standing vote. If you would, as another means though, if you would prefer that the vote be done through a method different than a standing vote, then it has to be done with an actual motion, which has to be approved by a majority vote.
For that first method, what do? You just say objection, or?
It's just before the result of the, so like you'll say the ayes have it, before you say that the motion passes, someone just has to, they don't need to look for your recognition, they just need to say division, just exclaim it or whatever.
And that's it, before I say the ayes have it?
I don't remember if it's, I'm pretty sure it can be after you say the ayes have it.
Here's how we're gonna do this, okay, and tell me if I can't do this. I say that, and I usually just looking for someone to be like, oh no, I disagree. So if you say something like division, I will recount the next level higher, so it hands, or you can do the ayes and nays. You don't necessarily have to do a standing vote. I don't want to discourage you from saying division just because you think that it's gonna get everyone all riled up. That's cool?
Yeah.
So if you say division, you disagree with my ayes and nays. Keeping in mind that if there was 3 nays, it still would have failed. But I will re-vote for you guys, and that's why I do that. Cool. So we're back to the, sorry, I just do that for everyone's own benefit. We're back to the motion of just cutting line item 5 from $700 to $175. Remember, this is the prize for the winning team members. Amy.
Second.
All those in favor of moving to the previous question, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Ayes have it. All those in favor of cutting line item 5 from $700 to $175, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Hearing one aye, the nays have it. Also voted in favor of that. I mean, I think it's more valuable, but better, whatever. It's like straight cash to me. Only in the case of a tie. Yes.
Not even in the case of a tie, in the case where the Senate is evenly divided.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so we are on Gear and Triangle's ethics bowl as a whole. Keeping in mind that line item 6 is at 175, line item 5 is at 700, 3 and 4 are gone, 1 and 2 are full amounts of 150. Any other discussion on Gear and Triangle ethics bowl? No, we're gonna kind of close that one out then. We've talked about AED, we've talked about APO, we've talked about the 2 Gear and Triangle, the Capanu, Rotaract, and Stevens Honor Board. Anything else for later on our shows? We talked about IEEE, talked about Stephen shattering the silence. Colin and Jeff.
Move to previous.
Second.
I'm gonna hear it and take it under 5 minutes up. All those in favor of moving the previous question on this whole thing, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Under 5 minutes on the whole motion, yeah. Getting on for one thing. We'll stay here, Jeff, what do you got?
Okay, basically, just the one thing, the rate, for the rates and activities that was brought up earlier, it's just, I think we should cut that and get that itemized, just because it seems really opaque.
Which one?
I think, rage night activities fee, I think we should, cut that and get it itemized, just because it seems really opaque, and it would make more sense to know exactly where the money's going.
I got Colin, Amy, and Xavier on this.
So, first of all, it's really unfair to bring this up back at the end when the representative sat here for like 45 minutes and could have answered this question, and did actually answer this question, said that the reason why this line item is so vague is because they don't know exactly what they want to do yet with it. The event is next semester. It's not that big that they would have to start planning it now, but they do need to secure the funding for it, so that way they know what they have to work with when they're planning the event.
I'm going to Amy. Amy.
Oh, no, Amy, sorry.
You gotta tell me you got a different reply.
I think that was kind of cleared up, so move to previous.
Second.
All those in favor of moving to the previous question? Wait, we're not in
We're not
any
in.
motion. You didn't make the motion, you made a suggestion. So you didn't say move to previous?
On previous on the question, or previous on
So such motion.
the sub, yes. Motion to approve the, wait.
Let's move to previous, move to previous.
Okay, to move to.
Okay, so all those in favor of moving to previous question on the late and non-RSOs as a whole, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. All those in favor of granting the late and non-RSO budgets as they stand, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Ayes have it, unanimous.
Guys, you're done with budgeting.
I also appreciate that. That was,
Oh my god.
they don't even know what they're spending $500 on. Such a weird exception. Jeff,
Hey Tyler, can I just do the thing? with
we're still in a meeting, guys, we're still in a
Yeah.
meeting. Please
Can
listen.
I do the thing with the packaging?
I mean, like, if you want to make another motion, you have to be very specific on what the motion
Yeah,
is.
yeah, it's very specific.
All right, Jeff.
Okay, I've got to make, I'm sorry, I have to do one more thing, not with the budgeting, but just, basically with C2GS, we purchased, a speaker. Well, we purchased a large speaker that was, improperly advertised on Amazon, so we need to return it. But one of the custodians took the packaging and threw it out, so we need to purchase return packaging. Like, the seller should pay for return shipping, but we just need to buy a cardboard box and some packing material. So what I want to do is, I want to motion to, to basically make an additional funding request on behalf of C2GS, and I'm the secretary, so I can answer. I'm not the secretary, so I can answer any questions with regard to that. So an additional funding request for just say $40, just to be really conservative. It's large, so just in case.
Okay, so the motion is made by Senator Jeff to grant C2GS $40. He explained why. Is there a second? Second.
Thank you.
I can't second motion. Can I? Cool. Seconded by Senator Shembley as well. All right. So we're in the motion about paying C2GS $40. I want to hear Jeff's explanation about paying for return shipping. Jeff, you have more?
Well, Vinny had a second.
No.
Okay, I'll go.
Makes sense. We did, move to previous.
All those in favor of moving to the previous question, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay.
I think I actually put it on the docket, it was in late.
Okay, all those in favor of granting C2GS $40, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Ayes have it unanimously. And just so you guys know, like, you guys can all do that. It's like the same as like when we bring things up late. I guess there maybe was one actual thing, but that's just a talking point about spending money as we see fit. Back into the meeting, this discussion, Genevieve.
I just wanted to make a point about like the meeting today and just like moving forward and everything. We're chosen to represent our student body and everything, and with that becomes a sense of like decorum and respect. So I just ask everyone to, moving on in the future, like pay a lot of respect to the people who are coming here to represent their organizations and everything. I think at one point today there was a lack of decorum, and I feel sorry for that because that shouldn't have happened. So I would just like to move forward and let it be known that that type of behavior should not be acceptable.
Thank you, Senator. Kate?
Back to the topic of boxes, depending on the size, I would definitely set you up with a cardboard box, Jeff.
Sorry, say what?
You definitely set you up with a cardboard box.
I'll see some time to Tyler, our great parliamentarian.
I'm not sure I even want to come back to it. I just wanted to add on as well, just one of the things that we're kind of lax with in terms of Robert's rules is that it's very focused on enforcing, referring everything to the chair and not mentioning other people in the Senate by name. And, we're kind of relaxed with that, but the idea is the same in that, in addition to respecting the people that are coming here, you should also try and have respect for everyone, your fellow senators.
And just to, I guess, quickly elaborate, you mean referring everything to the chair as in discussion points, right? So you're saying like...
Yeah, so like, you wouldn't say like, oh, in response to Mark's point, you would just say in response to the point that was made.
Because understand that helps us even look better and have better discussions that don't get personal. Senior Senator, same time in that.
Just because I would like to end on a light note. This is the view from One World Trade Center. There's a nice little interactive thing here you can play with. And if you see right over here, that over there somewhere is Stevens Institute of Technology.
Cost
I see
so much
it.
money.
It's right there, it's right on the
Right there, mine.
There she was.
Oh no, that's picture.
Any discussion with the Senate? Motions, comments? Colin?
Motion to close.
All in favor of closing, please say aye. All opposed, say nay. Aye.